Okay, let me start with another attitude. Okay, might be a little bit controversial and I have to be very careful not to accidentally dox myself nor the company, because the company is a really good one. Definitely a company I would recommend that you work for. However, there was a certain thing that was going on with each company. They have to follow the rules, especially that California is the most strict. No sexism, no racism, no homophobia, no transphobia. But when you hire an employee who is discriminatory, is prejudiced, we've got issues. Because those rules don't even help. Especially like that one company that I worked for. This employee worked there for decades, and they're the only person in that position. That position was actually constructed, tailor-made for that person, and that person does a really, really, really good job. You got to make sure, emphasize the positive. He definitely knows how to do his job. He's the only one who could do it. If something happens to him, the company is in really big trouble, because they're not going to be able to find somebody who has the exact knowledge and skill sets that he has. So let me preface this whole thing with that. So I worked for this company for about 3 months as a temporary worker, because what they do, some companies do, they actually keep people on a temporary basis. That way they can feel them out, see what kind of work ethic they have, see how many times they're absent, how many times they're late to work, how many times they ask to leave early. So definitely, I check-marked all the boxes. I made sure I have a good impression, because with my hometown, we have like 500,000 people. It's in my hometown, the surrounding area. So you burn the bridge, there's a whole bunch of other bridges, but I don't want to do that. So I worked there for 3 months, and they offered me a permanent job, and it was so tough, because I know this is a very good company, and I know the other offices are completely different, but there was that one employee that I mentioned. He's the only one in that position. That position was actually constructed specifically for him, because he has a specific knowledge and skill sets that they need, and they know it's very difficult to find a replacement, because there's no way they're going to find somebody who has the exact same knowledge and skill sets that he has. But the reality was, he treated a specific type of co-worker differently from everybody else. And for me, that is a deal breaker. If somebody's going to be treating me differently based on how I look on the outside, that's a no. I don't care how good the company is. I don't care if that worker is going to retire soon. That's a no. That's no deal. Now, I know over the past few years, I've actually molded my mind. Maybe I should have just toughed it out, because he does know how to do his job. He's been there longer than I have. I've only been there for 3 months. He's been there for decades. I have no power. I'm a greenhorn. So, and I also knew if I say no to their permanent job offer, it's going to be very they're not going to offer me any more work, because I was working through a temp agency on top of that. So yeah, it's one of those ethics things they have to deal with, because just because the rules say don't discriminate, that doesn't mean that they have your back. They don't, especially if they have a worker who's been there for decades. They're the only person in that position, and they know they are not going to be able to find a replacement for that position. So yeah, I would like to know if any of you gone into that situation, or what would you have done? Would you have toughed it out? Because several years later, I did find out that he did retire. And yeah, it's a different manager for that company. The workers are different. But yeah, I did know this. Every few months, just like me, they put out a help wanted ad for that position that I was in. So yeah, I I'm not surprised. Everybody who works in that specific position, they immediately notice, hey, this guy, he's not following the rules, but I can't say anything because he's been there the longest. He's the only person in that position, so obviously they're not going to fire him. They would rather fire the new person who's complaining about his behavior. So yeah, so this thing